After my surgery, I couldn't lift my arms. My doctor said to rest for 6 weeks. My MIL laughed and dumped a basket of wet laundry in my lap, saying, "Lazy girls don't belong in this family." My husband just watched. I bled through my stitches trying to please them. 5 weeks later, I gave them exactly what they deserved. I'm Sarah, 33, from a town outside Lexington, Kentucky. Grew up lower middle class, worked hard, didn't have a silver spoon or any family safety net. I married Jake when I was 27. He was quiet, worked in HVAC, and didn't cheat or hit, which, back then, seemed like enough. Looking back now, I see all the red flags. But at the time? I was just tired. Tired of dating losers, tired of wondering what came next. Jake seemed safe. That's it. Safe. The problem wasn't Jake at first. It was his mother. Darlene. She's the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes it cold. Always with her hair perfect, nails done, eyes scanning you up and down. If you didn't pass her invisible test, she'd smile and say something awful like it was sweet. She could make a compliment sound like an insult and a threat sound like a joke. From the start, she made it clear I wasn't her idea of wife material for Jake. She thought I was too plain, too soft, too modern. I didn't sew, didn't cook real meals, didn't want to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. She hated that I worked full-time. She hated that I didn't go to church with her. She never said it outright, but I could see it in her face. She called me city girl even though I lived one town over. I tried. For years, I tried. I hosted holidays, made dishes she liked, wore clothes she wouldn't mock. I even let her rearrange my living room once, just to avoid the argument. Jake told me to just ignore her or that's how she is. He never stood up to her. Not once. I let it go. I told myself marriage was compromise. Then I got sick. Last year, I started having this pain in my arms and shoulders. At first, I thought I just slept wrong. But it kept getting worse. I couldn't lift things. I dropped mugs. I couldn't carry groceries or raise my arms without a sharp, stabbing pain. Eventually, it got so bad I couldn't pull a shirt over my head. After a lot of appointments and MRIs, I was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome and nerve compression. Basically, the nerves running from my spine to my arms were being pinched. I needed surgery. Not one, but both shoulders. It was serious. The kind of surgery that cuts deep and takes weeks, months, to fully recover from. The surgeon warned me, you need to be careful. No lifting. No pushing. No strain. Not even reaching overhead. 6 weeks, minimum. Jake was with me when they said it. He nodded. Seemed concerned. Took time off work to help me recover that first week. At first, he brought me soup, helped me change into loose clothes, set me up in the recliner. But by day 3, he was sighing when I asked him to help me to the bathroom. By day 5, he was scrolling through his phone while I struggled to eat. Then, he told me his mom was coming to stay to help. That was the start of the nightmare. She arrived like a storm. No smile, no greeting, just, well, looks like you've let the house go. I was sitting in my robe, still doped up from pain meds, stitches fresh, arms in braces. I could barely sit up straight. She walked in, dropped her bags, and started criticizing everything. The dust on the shelves. The dishes. The fact that I was resting. She made loud comments like, when I had my gallbladder out, I made dinner the next night. She had it done laparoscopic. Not even close to the same thing. She'd cluck her tongue when Jake helped me. If I asked him to grab my meds, she'd say, you really can't get them yourself? He never said a word. After a few days, Jake went back to work. That's when Darlene really let loose. She'd wake me up early, slam cabinets, walk around muttering about lazy women. I tried to stay quiet, stay out of her way. I was in pain every second. It hurt to brush my teeth. It hurt to feed myself. Then came the worst moment. It was a Tuesday. I remember it clearly. I was sitting in the recliner, arms propped up on pillows, watching TV quietly. Darlene came in with a full basket of wet laundry. Heavy. You could hear the water sloshing in the fabric. She looked at me with this fake sweet expression and said, "Lazy girls don't belong in this family." Then she dumped the entire basket in my lap. The weight of it slammed into my chest and shoulders. The wet clothes pressed down on my stitches. I screamed. Actual pain. Real, awful pain. I felt something pop. The skin split. I was bleeding through my damn stitches. She didn't even stop. She just walked out of the room. I pulled myself up, shaking, crying, holding my sides. I made it to the bathroom, ripped my shirt open, and saw blood soaking through the bandages. It wasn't a little. It was enough to panic me. I called my doctor and got an emergency appointment. Jake came home that night, and I told him what happened. Showed him the bloody bandage. You know what he said? "She probably didn't mean it like that. You're too emotional right now." That's when something broke inside me. I looked at his face and realized he didn't care. He never cared. Not enough. I made a choice that night. I stopped talking. Stopped asking. I did what I could to heal. But inside, I was planning. For the next 5 weeks, I played nice. I smiled when Darlene made her passive-aggressive remarks. I didn't react when Jake ignored me. I healed slowly, painfully. I took photos of my injury. I saved texts where I told my friend what happened. I started recording audio of Darlene's abuse on my phone, hidden in the couch cushions or my robe pocket. Every cruel comment. Every insult. Every denial of help. I got it all. I emailed everything to myself. Then to a backup email. Then to my best friend Lisa. She lived in Louisville, 2 hours away. She told me the day I was ready, she'd come get me. No questions. And then, 5 weeks after the surgery, the day before my follow-up appointment, I left. I'll tell you exactly what I did, in the next part. The night before I left, I laid in bed with my phone under my pillow, just listening to the house. Darlene had gone to bed around 9. Jake was in the living room watching TV with his headphones on. I sat there, wide awake, heart racing, thinking about every single moment that led to this. At exactly 6:30 a.m. the next morning, I quietly packed a duffel bag. Just essentials. Nothing big. I left behind most of my clothes, all the kitchenware I bought, even my wedding ring. I didn't care. I didn't want a damn thing from that house. Everything in it felt like it belonged to them now. I left a note on the kitchen table: "Lazy girls don't belong in your family. So I'm leaving it. I'm not coming back. Don't call me." Then I walked out and got into Lisa's car. She had driven all night to get me. She didn't ask questions. Just gave me a hug, loaded my bag into the trunk, and drove. We didn't even hit the freeway before my phone started blowing up. Jake. Then Darlene. Then Jake again. First it was, "Where are you?" Then, "Are you serious right now?" Then, "You're abandoning your marriage?" I blocked both of them. That whole day, I felt like I could finally breathe. My arm still hurt, but it was different now. At least I wasn't being insulted while I healed. Lisa set me up in her guest room. She even made a little basket with snacks and tea and a charger next to the bed. I broke down crying when I saw it. That first week with Lisa, I rested and made moves. I got a lawyer. I filed for divorce. Filed a protective order against Darlene, with all the proof I had. Photos. Audio recordings. My doctor even wrote a letter saying my injury had clearly been worsened by physical strain inconsistent with post-surgery instructions. Jake tried to fight it. He tried to stall the divorce. Claimed I was unstable. Said his mother was trying to help. But here's the thing, my lawyer was good. Real good. And I had more than enough to prove that not only was I mistreated, I had medical evidence and audio to prove it. Around this time, something happened I wasn't expecting. Jake's uncle found out. See, Jake worked for his uncle's HVAC company. Small town business, reputation mattered. Apparently, a few of the church ladies Darlene used to gossip with had started hearing whispers, because someone posted one of my recordings anonymously in a local Facebook group. Not me. But maybe Lisa. Or someone she shared it with. One clip had Darlene's voice clear as day saying, if she can't lift a laundry basket, she's got no place being a wife. The second clip? I dumped it on her so she'd get off her ass. That's not abuse, that's motivation. It went viral in our little town. Comments lit up under it. People remembered how sweet I'd been at church events, or how I used to help at the community center. Some of them used to mock me for being quiet, but now they were turning on Darlene. Jake's uncle told him to take some time off while the divorce got sorted out. But small towns talk. No one wanted to hire Jake after that. Who wants to hire the guy who stood by while his wife got hurt? Darlene started skipping church. Word got back to me that someone spit on her car. She called the police, but nothing came of it. Then, about 3 weeks into my stay with Lisa, I got a package. Inside was a handwritten letter from Jake. 6 pages long. It started with, I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. Then, I should have stopped her. I should have told her to back off. And finally, can we try counseling? I'll make her leave. I'll make it right. I didn't even finish the letter. I put it in the trash. I wasn't going back. I had seen who he really was. And deep down, I think I always knew. He never wanted a wife. He wanted someone like his mother. Someone who served and never questioned. I was done being that person. But I wasn't done with the plan. Because what came next? That was the part they didn't see coming. There were more things I hadn't shared yet. A few secrets I'd kept to myself, like the account Jake didn't know I had. Or the voice recordings I hadn't made public. Yet. And soon, I'd make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of family they were. So I mentioned the account Jake didn't know about. Let me explain that. A couple years into the marriage, I started squirreling away money. Not a lot at first, just $50 here, $100 there. Little things. Birthday money from my dad. A bonus from work I didn't mention. Every time I did freelance work on the side, I put it into a separate credit union account under my maiden name. I didn't even tell Lisa. I did it because something deep in my gut kept telling me, you're going to need an exit plan someday. Turns out, I was right. The account wasn't huge, but after a few years of slow and steady saving, I had about $9,000. Enough to cover legal fees, rent a small place, and start over. So while Jake was sending me letters and voicemails saying things like, don't throw away everything we built, and I told her she went too far, I was already looking at apartments back in Lexington. I had no intention of going back. But I wasn't just going to disappear quietly either. Because here's what Jake didn't realize. I wasn't the only one he'd been careless with. After I filed for divorce, I started digging. Not in some stalker way. Just asking questions. One of Jake's old coworkers, a guy named Tony, reached out to me on Facebook. He said he'd heard what happened and thought I should know, Jake's been seeing someone else for a while. I didn't want to get involved before, but after hearing what his mom did to you, I figured you deserved to know. I asked for proof. He sent me screenshots. Turns out Jake had been texting a woman named Morgan. She worked at a parts store in town. There were flirty messages going back months. Photos. Inside jokes. One message said, you're the only person who actually listens to me. And worse, she's been milking the surgery crap for weeks. You're more of a wife than she is. It made me sick. All that time I was crying in pain, bleeding through my stitches, he was texting some woman about how needy I was. Now, this wasn't just personal betrayal. It mattered legally. Kentucky is a no-fault divorce state, sure, but when you can prove adultery and neglect, it absolutely helps with division of property. And I wasn't letting him walk away with anything easy. I gave the screenshots to my lawyer. along with the timeline of when the messages started, which matched exactly with when I was recovering and Darlene was dumping laundry in my lap. But that's not the only twist. A week later, Lisa and I were having coffee when she got a message from one of her old high school friends, a girl named Trisha who still lived in my neighborhood. She said, "You'll never believe what I just saw. Jake and Darlene were screaming at each other in the driveway." She threw a plate at him. Like full-on glass plate. Something about how he embarrassed the family. Apparently, the church rumors, the social media leaks, and the local gossip had finally broken her. Jake had lost his job. Couldn't get hired anywhere because no one wanted to be caught up in the drama. Darlene was being shunned at church. Her ladies' group had cut ties completely. People crossed the street to avoid her at the grocery store. And now they were turning on each other. Jake had moved into her basement after I filed for divorce. No money. No job. No more reputation to hide behind. I sat there reading Trisha's message and said to Lisa, "They're finally eating each other alive." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "You done yet?" I smiled. Not even close. Because here's where I made my next move. Remember Morgan, the woman Jake was cheating with? She had no idea what she'd gotten herself into. From what Tony told me, she thought I was some nagging wife who faked an illness to trap Jake. She didn't know I had surgery. She didn't know what Darlene did. She didn't know Jake had told everyone I was mental and probably faking my pain. So I called her. Yep. Me. I called her. And to my surprise, she picked up. "Hello? Hi, Morgan. This is Sarah. Jake's wife." Silence. Then a very soft, "Oh. I'm not calling to fight with you," I said. "I just think you deserve to know who you've been talking to." She let me talk. For 15 minutes, I laid it all out. The surgery. The stitches. The laundry basket. The audio. The blood. Everything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I told her plainly what Jake had done, and what he'd let his mother do. I even offered to send her copies of the photos and texts. I said, "You can choose what to believe. I'm just giving you the truth." You know what she said? "He told me you hit him. That you were unstable and screamed all the time." I laughed. "Did he also tell you I couldn't lift my arms? That I couldn't even hold a glass of water?" She hung up. 3 hours later, Jake sent me an email, "Why are you trying to ruin everything? You didn't have to involve her." I didn't reply. Because now, he had no job, no girl, no backup plan, and no idea what I still had left to use. I wasn't finished. Not yet. And the next thing I had planned? Would make him wish he'd never watched his mother dump that basket in my lap. After I talked to Morgan, I waited. I didn't need to do anything else right away. The dominoes were already falling. 3 days later, I got a message from her. Just one sentence, "I left him." I didn't reply. I just let it sit there. Let him feel that one all the way through. Meanwhile, my lawyer moved fast. Between the recordings, the screenshots, the doctor's notes, and witness statements from neighbors who'd seen Darlene yelling at me in the yard back when I was still recovering, the judge granted the restraining order, approved full separation of assets, and gave me the house. Jake tried to fight it, but with everything against him, his lawyer basically told him to take the deal or lose more. I watched him sign the divorce papers over Zoom. He looked smaller than I remembered. Pale. Tired. No smug smile. Just a quiet man who lost everything because he never thought I'd stand up. But that wasn't the end. Because there was still Darlene. The restraining order meant she couldn't contact me, not even indirectly. But a month later, she tried. She left a handwritten letter in my mailbox. My name, scrawled across the front, like she hadn't done anything wrong. Inside, it said, "You've torn our family apart. You'll regret this. You'll be alone forever." So I called my lawyer. Then the police. Because she broke the order. They arrested her the next morning. Not only that, but I filed harassment charges, and since she was already on thin ice with the community, the judge didn't take it lightly. She got fined, and because she resisted arrest and yelled at the officer, she spent 3 nights in jail. She was 63. A woman who used to run the church bake sale and talk down to everyone. Now she had a mugshot floating around Facebook. But here's where karma really came for her. Turns out, her husband, Jake's father, Harold, had left her a life insurance policy and a small inheritance when he died. What nobody knew, not even Jake, was that Darlene had cashed out early to pay off credit card debt she never told anyone about. She was in serious financial trouble. When word got around that she was being charged and fined, the local charity she volunteered at dropped her. The bank cut her line of credit. And then, I got a call from a woman named Jody, someone who used to be Darlene's friend. She told me Darlene had started showing up at her house, crying, begging for help. She says she can't afford rent now that Jake's out of work, Jody said. She's blaming you. But honestly? No one's listening to her anymore. Jake, by then, was couch surfing at a friend's place. Morgan had dumped him. His boss, his uncle, had publicly stated he wouldn't be rehiring him. And the HVAC industry in our area was small. No one wanted the guy who stood by while his injured wife was abused. But the final revenge? That came from something Jake had completely forgotten about. Years ago, we'd bought a second car, a little Honda Civic I used for work. I paid for it. My name was on the title. But Jake handled the registration. When I left, he assumed I'd left it for him. He didn't know I'd been paying the insurance. Quietly. Keeping the plates valid. I waited 6 months. Then I hired a repo guy. One morning, around 5 a.m., Jake walked outside to head to a temp job someone had finally thrown him, and watched my Civic get loaded onto a flatbed. He called me from a friend's phone. "What the hell, Sarah? That car was mine." I answered for once. "No, Jake. You just used it like you used me. But I actually paid for it. Just like I paid for our marriage. Just like I paid for all the years you stood by and said nothing." He started to yell. I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. Now? I live in a small apartment in Lexington. I got a new job with better pay, better hours, and bosses who treat me with respect. Lisa still visits me once a week. We get takeout and laugh about how far I've come. Sometimes, I still feel the ache in my shoulders when it rains. A tightness that reminds me of those nights I couldn't lift my arms. That I bled while they watched. That I screamed in pain while they told me I was faking. But I also remember the sound of the flatbed driving off. The court letter that said divorce finalized. The look on Jake's face over Zoom when the judge ruled in my favor. And I know this, they thought I was weak. They thought I'd take it and stay quiet. But I healed. And then I made sure they broke. Forever.